Hello, Jonathan.
Hey there, how we doing?
Doing well, doing well. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. It's quite the honor.
Absolutely. I guess to get this started, just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where are you from, and
Yeah.
just things like
Yeah. So my name is Jonathan Bearden. My my hometown is Tallahassee, Florida, where I lived for like the first 10 years of my life, and then I lived here in Louisville for a couple years. My dad graduated with his MDiv from Southern Seminary, and then we moved all the way out to Washington State. I know it's quite the cultural change and difference. And then we lived out there for like 6.5 years, and then my family lives in Alabama now to be closer with family, and in Florida, and also just to be somewhat in the vicinity of where I am while I'm here at college. So that's been kind of my life, and I kind of grew up being, an Auburn sports fan. So I would go to games, which were a lot of fun and a lot of memorable memories. I was there for the game for the Kick Six,
that. Oh, yeah.
Auburn versus Alabama Iron Bowl is pretty one of the best plays in college football history, in my opinion. I was there for that and a lot of other cool games, but also too within that, my dad's been basically been my pastor my whole life. So I was raised in a Christian household, where we talked about the gospel and Jesus a lot, and theology as well too. But so I just remember, like, oh, we would wake up really early on like Sunday mornings to drive back home from a Auburn game, and so then we'll be in time and for church and all those things. And yeah, those were the good old days. But yeah, so that's essentially who I am. I love sports, obviously. I love Auburn sports, or just playing shooting hoops or something like that. I did play basketball for a while, growing up, and then I did kind of play some sort of competitive play for a little bit. Then at some point, I just kind of realized, like, I don't want to go down this route of try to pursue it more, but just said to pursue other things. So that's where I am, and that's how the Lord brought me here to boys and all those things. So it's been one wild ride, and it's gonna be even more wild of the ride after that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was great to hear that. I guess the next question would be, how did the Lord start working in your life?
Yeah. So obviously, I kind of just told you all that I kind of just grew up in a Christian household, and my dad's a pastor. But I just remember kind of growing up, like, oh man, like, just fearing the Lord's judgment, upon us, like, because I knew, like, oh man, the people who are not saved, like, are condemned to hell, and like will experience the wrath of God. And honestly, that kind of just terrified me. Like, the Lord uses multiple means and ways of Him revealing Himself to us, and that was one of those ways. And I just remember fearing the Lord. Like, there would be even times when I was like, oh man, like, God could also flood the earth again if He wanted to, but He promised, through the rainbow, that He will never will flood the earth again. But even in the midst of that, I was like, oh man, like He is an all-powerful God, and like He knows even the littlest sins that we do. So yeah, and that really brought fear in my life. I'm like, man, like, I do believe that there is a God, who is a righteous judge, and He will orchestrate everything according to His purposes. So I just remember one night just kind of talking with my parents, and like, they asked me sort of like questions like, do you believe in God? Like, do you believe that Jesus came to earth to live a perfect life, died a sacrificial death, and rose from the grave? And I'm like, yes, like, I believe those things. And then that night, that's when I confessed with my mouth that Jesus is the Lord, and believed that in my heart that God raised Him from the dead. you will be saved. And that was that night. And then I got baptized when I was about 8, after, just a season of just seeing fruit in my life, because, as a Christian in your walk, you should see fruit in your life. No, just to know that, just to see that the Lord is working in your life, and also to see that there's a genuine faith, to it, because there's a lot of people who will say that they repented and then got baptized, but they don't show any kind of fruit. So, like, from my parents, they were really careful about that. So, it was good to be kind of raised that way, and then they saw fruit in my life. So then I got baptized. And then we moved here to Louisville, Kentucky, and that's where I experienced a lot of spiritual growth, because, when you're here, there's a lot of really good, healthy, godly churches around here. And so, like, I grew a lot, and it was kind of also like the first time, like, I really had other Christians that I can really look up to besides my dad. Like, it's good that I have a godly figure in my dad that I can look up to, but gonna have a couple other people who I would actually look up to, like my small group leader, my youth group leader, like, and also like just other people that we had in our lives. And so, like, it was really good for my spiritual formation and all of that. And I felt like I just grew a lot during that time. And then we moved out to Seattle, and I felt like out there, like, things were kind of thriving, and like, so obviously still learning a lot and trusting the Lord, even when we moved out so far away. But even in that, like, the last couple of years that we were there, it was really hard. And so it's been quite the journey. I'm thankful for it all, but even in the midst of that, I can see, like, the Lord's hand in my life, even when in the times when I've been unfaithful. Like, He's always been the faithful one, and I don't deserve that at all. So I'm thankful.
Wow, that is awesome. I guess final question: how did the Lord lead you to Boyce, and where do you think He's leading you after?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I lived here for a couple years, and obviously I knew about Boyce a little bit, but they didn't really have anything at that time that I was really interested in, like, pursuing, like, as like a potential degree or something like that, because, like, I didn't feel like called to be like a pastor or anything like in that direction. So, like, I wasn't looking like the more like typical ministry route type of the thing. But then in 2019, I think it was 2019, they announced they were going to have a communications program, and that's when my mind kind of perked up a little bit. It was like, okay, like, I kind of like that. And it's kind of ironic, because I was born deaf, but had cochlear implants that helped me to hear. And it's kind of ironic, like, oh man, I'm basically, like, legally deaf, and I'm getting a degree in communications. Like, it's kind of ironic how the Lord works those things out. But yeah, so I kind of saw that, and it was like, I also spiritually grew a lot here, so I'm like, might as well just go back to the place where I grew a lot, and get the biblical grounding in Scripture, but also that also kind of figure out what to do with my life. And for a while, I really wanted to do, like, my own media ministry one day, like the digital media ministry, where, there's a lot of things, like the Gospel Coalition, Desiring God, and like 9 Marks, or all those places. Like, there's a lot of really good books and resources and all those things, articles and things out there. But I really want to really turn to the digital side of things, like YouTube, movies, TV shows, or like podcasts or stuff like that, and really help people see the gospel in everything that we do, even the daily lives, and how He use people for His purposes. So I would really love to do that one day, but I also kind of told my mom this, like, at the end of the day, no matter what I do, like, I want to be faithful in the things that the Lord has called me to, and let. So it can mean just having an ordinary job, but also doing ministry on the side, or doing something like digital media ministry one day, type of thing for like a company or my own company, maybe potentially one day. So I don't know, it just depends on where the Lord leads, and the connections that kind of come along the way with that. So yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, that was really encouraging to hear your story and the Lord's work. Thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your story.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, and it was a joy to get to talk with you and share my story along the way.
Absolutely, man.